Welcome to episode 13 of 1 Degree of Scandalous with Cato Kalin and Tom Zenner. Before we start, a quick reminder to check us out on our YouTube channel, subscribe there, and of course, on the audio side, wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate everybody. Had a huge week on our YouTube channel last week. All right, the big story with Anne Heche, which we were all over. And we're going to talk about this at the end of the show, about the backstory of how we told you about how we got our guest, but then what happened? Because when we taped, we didn't know her condition. So we're going to talk a little bit more about everything that transpired, the tragic situation with Anne Heche, and we'll find out what's going on in Mr. Kalin's life. There's always something exciting. Great guest today. So stay tuned. And by the way, I want to thank our friends at Bitfire Technology. We're taping and recording the show using their amazing technology. We'll talk more about it at the end of the show, but let's bring in our guest right now. You're going to recognize the name. You're going to recognize the face. You're going to recognize the voice. And if you follow him on Twitter, he's been in your life for about 14 years. Darren Rovell, you remember him at ESPN, CNBC. Now he's with the Action Network, always cutting edge on the business side of sports and entertainment and now gambling. Darren, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to 1 Degree of Scandalous.
It is great to be here and talk with you guys.
That's putting it mildly.
I'm a fan, Darren. I'm a fan, baby. I know he's got 2 million followers on Twitter, but after today, you got 2,000,001. Me, baby.
Hey,
I'm following you.
Darren, let's
Maybe
get right into it, because you were on the forefront of embracing Twitter as a journalist. You jumped on board that train right when it left the station, and you haven't stepped off. Let's just say that. Huge following. And in my opinion, I don't think anybody tweets more than you. You could talk about your volume, but how has it affected your life? Has it helped your business, helped your brand? You have to deal with a lot of trolls out there, and it seems like you kind of enjoy the little give and take with everybody.
So originally, I didn't go on Twitter to disseminate my own information. It was actually so that I could find out other pieces of information. So the idea was, I'm a sports business reporter. I have to know what the big story is first before I write my story. Mm-hmm. And so Twitter was really just about me being able to keep up with everything that was going on. I think over time it became, okay, now I have this huge megaphone and I could then disseminate information. And yes, every day it's a battle. It's nasty. Yes, Instagram is amazing, and we're all holding hands. And Twitter, people are waking up every morning wanting to fight you. And it doesn't matter if there's 0 followers or 200 followers or 3 million followers. They want to fight.
Cato, before you get to your question, Darren, how many tweets have you sent out in your life, in your career?
I think about 300,000, and everything that has come from my feed has come from my hands. No one has ever tweeted for me.
You know, I have a question about that with Twitter, because I do all these social medias, and I'm Nice Cato on Instagram, Ugly Cato on Twitter. I always thought Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook should just merge and just call it You Twit. They would call it You Twit Face, and I would buy stock in that. But here's the thing. I want to know how you, starting with Twitter, how do you go from like 50,000 followers to get to 500,000 followers and then to get in the millions? It boggles my mind, is because I've been on it for a little while, and is there a secret, or is there that one tweet you said, oh my God, I just got 100,000 followers? What's the secret?
No, it's not, Cato. It's not one tweet. It's this is what I could rely on this guy for. So I kind of branded myself as the pop-up video guy of sports business. Something happens, I think sports fans obviously drove Twitter, and the fact that someone's sitting on the couch with the laptop on their lap and they're seeing Tiger Woods, but I'm going to be the guy to say, this is how much Tiger Woods has made here. And so I think that I became a de facto follow for all sports fans, because I was pretty much the one doing this on
Yeah, you got to have a thick skin, right, Darren? I mean, you just got to not let the comments bother you. Have you ever had one tweet where you push it out there and I know you can delete it, but you thought, oh, let me grab that one back, or you have any regret?
No, see, I can't.
Yeah.
The thing is, you can't, when yours, it's already 15 seconds.
It's archived, baby, and you got it. I'm sure you said you sent out 300,000 tweets. You probably can't even see send on your computer anymore. I'm sure
I think I've had probably 200 tweets that I regret sending.
All right. Well, you can always live. If you monetized it, can you monetize it on Twitter with that big of a following?
You can monetize it, but I don't. I monetize my Instagram. I monetize the fact, obviously, I have this following. That's how people get to me, and I make other money through views. So I monetize it in that way. But I won't sell a tweet. I just can't do it from a journalism standpoint. I don't offer for you to buy a straight up tweet. I will never write ads, spawn, partner. I'm just going to leave that money on the table.
So Darren, I'm nice Cato on Instagram. I'm ugly Cato on Twitter. So one of the ugly things I tweet is, what is wrong with ESPN? I grew up in Wisconsin. My father had 44 tickets, my late father, to Packer games. You know, there's a loyalty. And then I sort of watched it, how ESPN changed to being woke. Everything woke, owned by Disney, become woke, and it's unwatchable. If I could figure out how to get rid of that ringtone of mine, I'm not smart enough to get rid of that ESPN song. But I see like the top 10 and a shot by someone in the WNBA. Let's face it, nobody goes to WNBA games. Maybe 200 people. It's financed by the NBA, by men. What is with the wokeness? Because you were at ESPN.
Yeah, I don't listen. I mean, I don't think it's good for business to force things down people's throats. And I can't really answer that from a insider standpoint, because as you said, I was gone in 2016. So, but I can tell you that I feel like there's a overall kind of like thought about how we should do things as an organization, which hasn't existed in other places that I've worked with, where it's kind of like, we need a take, we need a side, we need a slant. And I think that's how ESPN's gotten in trouble.
You know, it's interesting, Darren, you kind of like, either by chance, circumstance, strategy, luck, whatever, you've always been a step ahead. And you saw this trend in sports gambling, I would imagine. You know, it made the move for you to go to the Action Network. Has it surprised you, though, where sports gambling is now mainstream? Every single league has embraced it. New revenue streams. You can't watch sports without constantly seeing gambling commercials. It's so big. It's happened so fast. Is this good from what you can tell at the speed that this is evolving?
Yeah. I didn't see this. The luck part of it comes in that I happen to live in New Jersey. And so I saw New Jersey was the one who sued that then led to the Supreme Court overturning the Professional Amateur Sports Protection Act of 1992, which then allowed each state to make their own decision. So New Jersey comes out of the gates in June of 2018, it was. And I am like, oh my God, I'm seeing maturity before my eyes. Times you get to see a business where there's maturity before your eyes, but everywhere else it's not. And to me, it was like, can I go from being a sports business reporter to being mostly sports gambling? And the answer was quickly yes. And by the time I'd made the move to the Action Network, there wasn't, I thought originally, because I was the first mainstream reporter to go to gambling, I thought that I'd get a lot of crap for it. And I didn't, because by the time I moved in December, it was already mainstream enough and accepted.
Yeah, and the big vote in California is November, and California will be the biggest market when it comes down to sport gambling. And speaking of sport gambling, why does MLB have such a hard-on for Pete Rose that now there's so much gambling in sports? Why not let him in the Hall of Fame? I don't get it.
I guess the way they think about it is, at the time, you know, in 1989, it was not allowed. And although there was no evidence that he bet against his team, I guess they just feel, by the way, the public certainly feels that Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I think even before gambling was legal outside of Nevada, I think people still felt that way. But yeah, it is a little bit strange, but I know that their take was, it's at the time it was not allowed.
True. And we've all evolved as a society, and there's a lot of things that have changed. And my God, he's part of your history. He's a big part of your history.
Right.
Why not have him part of the game? Okay, Cato, we have to ask our guests about scandal. I mean, this is one degree of scandalous. Now, if you followed Darren on Twitter, you know he's reported on this, I don't know, urban legend, controversy, scandal, misunderstanding. I'm not sure what it is, but it involves some pretty big names. Cal Ripken Jr., the Iron Man of baseball. Nice guy. Everybody loves Cal.
Love him.
How could you have anything against Cal? And Kevin Costner, nice guy of Hollywood. But my goodness, this thing is saucy. This thing is juicy. It has scandal written all over it. Give us the backstory and tell us if this is true.
August 14th, 1997, 25 years ago this week, Cal Ripken supposedly made a call to the Orioles to say he couldn't play the game and his streak was going to come to an end if they don't do something. Then the story goes to yards where there are banks of lights that do not go on, despite the fact that the power company said that there was no issues around the 16 block radius of Camden Yards. So you have the makings of a great conspiracy here. The story goes Kevin Costner was sleeping at Cal Ripken's house. Various versions, but Cal leaves the house to go to the game, comes back, forgets something. Kevin Costner's sleeping with Cal's wife. Cal beats him up, can't get the glove on his hand, whatever it is, says do something. Now, coming up on the 25th anniversary, I was like, all right, we gotta figure this out, or we gotta bust some of these rumors. And the weirdest thing is there is a Getty photo taken by a freelance photographer of Cal Ripken waiting in the dugout, waiting for the lights to come on or whatever. So like the idea that Cal Ripken's not at the game and not ready, he has his glove on his hands, he has his jersey on. It's just so weird that it was just a moment in time, because if this happened in this era of social media, it would have been debunked in 30 seconds. Now, the new part of the story that I got was because I spoke to the Orioles PR guy at the time, John Maroon, and he told me that the Orioles were ready to go. They figured out enough of the lay. They wanted to play Randy at night because Randy Johnson, who was pitching for the Mariners, because he's tougher to see during the day. And they had it all ready to go. And Lou Piniella told the Orioles apparently that Randy Johnson was like 2 beers in and he wasn't going to be pitching. And the Orioles, as a favor, John says, did the deal and said, all right, we'll come back the next day.
He said 2 things that just brought back a terrible flashback for me. First, he said the glove didn't fit Cal Ripken Jr., the glove didn't fit, he's going to quit. And then you said that Kevin Costner was a house guest. What are you saying, man? What are you bringing back these memories for? Kevin Costner was not the original house guest, by the way. Or maybe he was.
Second most famous, Darren.
Second most.
You were.
You know what's so funny is that I went to Cal State. I went to Wisconsin, played baseball, transferred to Wisconsin Eau Claire, transferred to Cal State Fullerton, where Costner was playing, and Augie Garrido was the coach. I tried out for that team, and I was like 150 pounds. I could throw 89 miles an hour. Like I was a very wiry Ron Guidry, but I was a righty. And I looked at these guys, the size, and I said, geez, I don't have a chance. I didn't get whiskers, by the way, Darren, until I was 38 years old. Just a little fact about me. So I just said, you know, I'm going to get with either.
The era of Mark McGuire and Oda B. McDowell and Barry Bonds.
Yeah,
they were all there.
I don't know about you guys, but I have a rule in my house. No A-list celebrities are allowed to spend the night, because I don't want them getting up for a drink of water and ending up in bed with my wife. I mean, my God, if Cal Ripken.
That was like when CNBC, when I was at CNBC, they told us, so you can't bring your wife to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You have to bring like someone famous so that we could have like a great table. So at my table was like Will.i.am and Chelsea Handler, and I invited Kate Upton. And I was married. I am married to the same woman. And people are like, you brought Kate Upton as a date while we're married? And I'm like, what do you think? I'm going to have sex with her? Like, let's be real. Now, if I brought my neighbor, right, my neighbor's wife, that would be a problem.
About that.
But like,
I want to hear about your wife
so
fighting Kate Upton now.
From any possibility of anything, it's completely clean. And my wife had no.
By the way, what's your relationship like with Justin Verlander? Is it good or bad?
No. It's actually pretty good. I knew Kate before him, actually, but yeah, pretty. He knows everything.
If she says yes, you have to take her. Yeah. I mean, my God, if you ask her and she says yes, it's a no-brainer.
And she said yes because her uncle Fred Upton was actually the chair of the House Finance Committee, so she had politics in her blood,
Well,
and she
obviously,
wanted
you
to
won
go.
best table that night. Best looking table. You know, we talked about
Yeah.
Cal Ripken, the Iron Man, and that. What do you think are 3 records in sports that will never be broken?
Oh man, I mean that is definitely one of them.
Yeah, that one's
Probably
impossible.
Brett Favre, I think
but it's
also.
Wait, which one? Consecutive
Brett,
games?
What'd you say?
games. I would
Brett
think
Favre?
I would think Brett Favre also consecutive games in football. I think that's
Brett Favre would be there too. I mean, that's the hardest thing, like, because guys are getting faster and speed records have been broken, bigger and faster. But I would say as people are getting bigger and faster, longevity records are certainly the ones that will not fall. Because these guys are, in a way, they're more fragile.
all the way, and they take more chances and more likely to get hurt. But I think those are 2. I can't think of a third just yet. But maybe
How about 7 Super Bowl rings by a quarterback? Tom Brady's never going to have that record broken. There's no way in hell. By the way, that brings me to a point. Now, one thing Darren has done it in the past is he's all over valuations of teams, right? Which have skyrocketed over the years. It's unbelievable. I'm going to make an argument here, and you guys tell me if I'm nuts. And I made this, I said this a year ago. People made fun of me. They ridiculed me. They yelled at me. They said I was an idiot. I mean, all these things I had to overcome.
Enough about your wife.
Okay, now listen. I'm going to say something. You tell me if you agree. Bill Belichick is the most overrated coach in NFL history. I didn't stutter, and I really mean it. I think he is the most overrated head coach in NFL history. And all you have to do is look at his record without Tom Brady. And you're saying to yourself, oh, that's so obvious, blah, blah, blah. He's still a great coach. He won 6 titles. I don't know. I think his legacy is on the line. I really do this year. If he's had 1 winning season without Brady, and that was when Brady was on the roster.
I'm actually surprised he did.
It's the biggest mistake he's ever made, right? And you know what? If Bill Belichick held up the same philosophy for himself that he does for his team, he'd cut himself. He's no longer effective. He's not getting the job done. And this is nothing personal.
And that last year he did okay. With Mac Jones, I think he did okay. Obviously, I think people were surprised. So I think your assessment is going to be on the line here. If Bill has an awful year, yeah, it's very hard to extract star players from their coaches. Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, how good of a coach was he?
But
Bill has gets a lot. I think Bill gets a lot of credit for the draft, a ton of credit for the draft, and his philosophy and that type of thing, which protects him a little bit more than just being.
Hey, by the way, the Patriots valuation as a team when Tom Brady, before they won their first Super Bowl in 2002, was $571 million. Now it's almost $5.5 billion. Darren can correct me if I'm
wrong. When Robert Kraft bought the team in '94, it was $99 million. It was the least valuable team.
Terrible stadium.
That's
the infrastructure. I used to work in Boston for Fox, and I used to go out there.
They were going to move to Hartford.
No kidding. I remember being out there when Pete Carroll, who I've known for 30 years because we both played football at the same school. Pete is older than me, but we went to University of Pacific. So I've known Pete for years. I remember going into his office and games, you guys, and going, Pete, what are we doing here? They want to run us both out of town. I think they're going to get me. You belong on the West Coast. Now, I'm not saying I predicted what he did at USC, but it was funny. Boston's a tough town. You have to really prepare yourself to handle the sports fans there. And I was just thinking we were both miscast there.
Patriots are $5.5 billion. Do you know how many massages that is? But anyway, but seriously, with this, I know what I want to ask you because we talked about.
Don't
He can't help himself, Darren. He's got this wealth of lines that just pop out.
I'm telling
amazing.
You,
it's a talent.
You know, this guy next to me here at the University of Pacific, he has still to this day, he's got the record for the most touchdowns in history. And he broke O.J. Simpson's record, correct, Tom? I'm bragging about you.
Okay, whenever anybody tries to brag about me for this record, it always comes out sideways. I did break the all-time junior college touchdown record that O.J. Simpson had, and I still have it, by the way.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if anybody's really good after their first year of junior college, they're going to go D1, and they won't have that second year. So I'll probably have the record for a long time. But yes,
you will have that record. Hey, Darren, I want to ask you. There's so much news with transsexuals and athletes and that. If you could transition yourself into a female, think about this. If you could transition to a female, what sport would you pick? And second part of that question is Leah Thompson, the dude, I think, from Pennsylvania. Do you think she has a penis? Answer the first one. First question first.
First one I'll definitely answer. I would do track and field. Leah Thomas, I mean, it does bother me. I know that's not the political answer, but I think it bothers a lot of people, including the females she is racing against. I don't know what the solution is, whether there is a time of transition, right? Like you have to get some sort of like requirement of estrogen levels and testosterone levels, or there's got to be something. I just know that, and I'm not against transitioning. I'm just saying that in athletic competition, I think we've got to work on a little bit more.
I just know cold water makes it shrink. Tom, back me up.
I can't deny or confirm that. But Cato, what sport would you play?
What sport would I play? Well, I would disagree with the track and field, just in case I transitioned and my nuts still hit a hurdle. I would think that would hurt. I would, you know what? I swim now. I think it would have to be swimming.
Really?
I think so. I think swimming is.
You and Leah in the finals.
That's a record that won't be broken. It's Michael Phelps. That's what I'll say. Okay. That's my third one, Michael Phelps.
Oh,
there I go. See, see how that was. I
full circle.
I book it. I got Darren left the picture because he knows I'm right. I'm talking to Darren's chair. He's about to tweet out something.
Ooh, this is the ticket where Michael Phelps won his 8th gold medal by Michael Phelps.
Now, do you collect those, or were you there? Were you?
I do collect.
That's so cool. We'll come see your house in New Jersey, even if we're not invited, right, Kate?
Oh no, I love that. I collect. Take certain ones to me. I've been to some Super Bowls, so I collect.
Yeah,
I collect.
But I mean the ones classic, crazy, like the Willie Mays catch right here.
What did you pay for that?
I paid about $2,000. It's worth like 10 now.
I don't know if you ever see Charlie Sheen. He's a big collector of baseball. He's a friend. But I remember one time he bought the entire bleachers section out at Anaheim Stadium.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
Yeah, he didn't get. It was.
Oh, that's right. He wanted to catch a home run ball, right?
Yeah, I forget who's home run by someone. I don't know.
That's right. Maybe it was like
it might be Ben Bonds.
Yeah, or it could have been Ken Griffey Jr. I'm not sure who was playing, by the way. Hey, by the way, let's talk golf for a second. You mentioned Tiger Woods. How the hell did he turn down almost $1 billion from Live Golf? Do you think that's accurate?
I think it was just his legacy. I mean, and now they're meeting now. Who knows? But Live Golf has got to be the craziest story I've covered in my entire. Like, you have one side where they don't really care about return on investment, and all they're doing is just it's play money because they have $600 billion in their fund, and the PGA Tour can't compete with that. But what a
I think their biggest mistake was not signing Barkley. I thought they should have given Barkley a Tom Brady-like contract that he got with Fox. It would have been worth it. As soon as Barkley didn't, end up going over there, I said, well, just stay irrelevant, Liv, because that's what you are. Barkley would get people to tune in. I think it would have led to a TV deal. I think that's their biggest mistake.
I'm going to get you on that.
He's obviously
I still think it will succeed. I don't know if people realize this. The ones that got whoever got like 200 million, when they play a tournament, they don't get paid if they win that tournament. It's all part of that pot. They get the 2 million, but they have to go over that 2 million. Exactly.
So it's like they got an advance, like they're a sales rep or something.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's talk one more other scandal. I love this story too. July 1st, it was Bobby Bonilla Day. Everybody celebrates that. I mean, this is just such a great story every year. The backstory is incredible. If you're not a sports fan, Bobby Bonilla was a very good Major League Baseball player for the Mets, for the Pirates, several times. Yep, but he got famous for what he did with the Mets. And the Mets had some financial issues because of Bernie Madoff, of all people, and it led to this incredible contract where Bonilla gets paid every year. You're all over that story every single year. Talk a little bit about that one and just how crazy that time was and how involved the Mets were with the biggest Ponzi scheme fraud of all time, Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, so 2000, they owed Bobby Bonilla 5.9 million. They didn't want to pay him. They wanted to defer the contract. Now, Bernie Madoff really wasn't until like 2008-9, but they had so many accounts with Bernie Madoff that they were like, oh, we're getting 12% on our money every year. They gave him 8% interest, and they gave him a 25-year deal that would start in 2011, go to 2035, that'd pay him $1,119,248.20 every July 1st. So the 5.9 million, what 29.8 million. And here's Bobby Bonilla. He'll be 60 next year. Just collecting and collecting and collecting. Obviously, when the Bernie Madoff situation got found out, and the Mets had more accounts than anyone. I mean, I was at CNBC at the time. I was counting the accounts. I was like, good Lord. That number and that interest rate all of a sudden didn't sound too good.
Wow,
They paid the price. I mean, their payroll went down like by 20 or 30% every year. I mean, they had to make cuts across the board.
Now, they did for critics. They actually, the fact that they didn't have to pay Bonilla, they used that money to pay Mike Hampton. They got him. They got to the World Series in 2000. And then they traded Mike Hampton to Colorado. They got the 38th pick in the draft, which became David Wright, their captain. So, like, there is a side of this that says, it really wasn't that bad.
I also noticed, and people are probably rooting for a Dodger Yankee or a Mets Yankee just for ratings.
Yeah.
Financially, everybody's rooting for that. Do you ever notice, though, Darren, with baseball players? I'll give an example, like a Christian Yelich or anybody that gets that huge paycheck. Is it they drop off the next year? I think it's the Rocky III, where when you start making money, you lose your edge and you don't care because you got the big payment. And I notice that in sports, it drives me crazy because you're not hungry. And it happens in every sport. I notice it a lot in baseball. It just goes there, and then they dive down. And it's all because of the greed of money. It's like they have to figure out a different way of payment so the person stays hungry.
I like the Rocky III reference, and then it happened to Rocky itself after Rocky IV. Just making so much money. Who cares about Rocky V?
What was that? You said it happened to Rocky himself?
It happened. Yeah, it happened. No, it was Rocky III, right? Like that's the okay. Don't let yourself get paid too much money. You lose it. But then after Rocky IV, Rocky itself, Rocky V and Rocky. I mean, they were just making Rockies. They didn't care after Drago and Rocky. But it's in any world, as you make more money, it's hard to stay motivated.
Completely.
It comes down to pride and some guy, listen, you're a lot more comfortable. Part of me thinks like if I make a whole lot more money and I'm getting up at the plate, like I'm less worried about hitting it, but like I feel like there's a peace of mind where I'm like, hey, I got the money. Like, I feel like I'd be more relaxed and play better.
I agree with that.
Once the millions.
Yeah, I think the pressure's off, and you just become you're not forcing yourself, and you just become very natural.
Well, let's follow what Aaron Judge does next year because he's having a heck of a year this year. He's going to get the big payday, and we'll see what happens and see if his performance drops off a little bit. Okay, so here's what I think, and I think the biggest change in sports that I've seen in the last few years is NIL money in college sports and the amount that they're getting. Here's the one thing nobody talks about. Well, first of all, now it's really hit where you're going to see players on Saturdays this fall playing college football that are millionaires. They're making millions of dollars. It's the number one thing these players talk about when they're being recruited. They will ask the coach, what is your NIL situation? Everybody wants to get paid. Is their performance going to drop off? Hell, some of them might be paid more than their assistant coaches. But you know what, Darren? Have any of them thought about the tax ramifications? I wonder if people are preparing them for what they're going to have to face a year later, because that's just not free money they're handing out.
Well, it seems like it doesn't make your education taxable, right? It doesn't all of a sudden, it doesn't make you're not an employee all of a sudden because it's not money coming in from the school. But like, I mean, people better save like anything when they get into this money. NIL, just like Live, just a wild story where, June 30th of 2021, if I'm a booster of a school, I better not contact an athlete. July 1st, oh, go DM them all you want. Have the business, give them all the money you want. Just don't let us hear about it. And it's like, it's strange and what a 180. Just wild.
Hey, what's your thought as far as potential scandal in the sports world with the openness of gambling right now, and just it's growing? I mean, females is the fastest growing.
The college guys are the ones who could be most corrupted, right? They're not the ones that are making the same type of money as the pros. But it is true that the way these things are monitored today, and the way they're regulated, sometimes we saw what happened with that NFL player who bet on the Falcons.
Yeah,
beard that they'll catch it.
Do you get exposed to stories that are scandalous and you're going, I don't know if I can touch this, or I got to turn this one over? In the back in the day when you were a CNBC or something, you had to turn it over to NBC News. Had you, because of the following that you have and what you see and how many people you're in touch with on a regular basis, is there some crazy scandal out there that nobody has any idea about?
I've made some deals in my time, right? So like there's a scandal where someone tells me and I trade it for something else, right? So there's probably one scandal that's been out there that I know about that someone else knows about that has not been reported because I traded it for something else and it was a good trade for me. Not frequently. I mean, I'll go after things. I was one ATM receipt away from taking down Johnny Manziel for signing autographs, which 5 years later he admitted, and getting paid, after his Heisman campaign. I was on the same trail with Jameis Winston. I'm going to go after it as responsible as I can.
Hey, Darren, we'll let you go here in a second. Final question from me. Brady's deal, $300+ million with Fox. My first reaction was he might be underpaid. I mean, he's going to bring that much value to Fox in the span of 10 years or however long his contract is. It's going to be atypical. It's not like he's just going to be in the booth. He's going to be promoting things for Fox. He's going to be selling. Could you imagine Brady in a business environment where you can get people to buy Super Bowl ads or buy whatever the NFL is peddling? I think
a lot of that is for appearances. That is to bring in business. I mean, you're taking the most relevant player in NFL history, and he's that because of the social media and the times, and you're owning him. And I kind of agree that when you think about how many hundreds and hundreds of millions they'll be spending, that it's worth that it is going to be worth it for them.
I feel enlightened having Darren on the show. You have enlightened me. I know you have 2 million Twitter followers. Like I said, I will be 2,000,001. Follow me back. And once again, I hope you'll come on again, and especially during football season. I'm like I said, huge Green Bay Packer, and it's depressing for me every time we get owned by San Francisco. And Aaron Rodgers should have so many more Super Bowls. Darren, thank you for joining myself. Tom, you want to say?
Yeah, Darren, thanks so much, man. Appreciate your patience. Appreciate your time. Keep rocking it. I know this is the crazy time now with football season started. I want to see you two get into a Twitter fight, a little spat online. I'm going to be following it.
And you want to say something about kickstand real quick? Because I have a Miata with a kickstand, but how about that hat kickstand?
So it's my new company. It's the only canned cocktail whose chief differentiator is spice. Not out in California yet, but we're in Tennessee, Pennsylvania. We'll be in Ohio next month. So never expected to be an entrepreneur. I've only invested in food and beverage brands, but saw the opportunity of giving to spicy margarita, and it's doing really well.
Plus, you can wear it on a broadcast. Hey, by the way, thank you to Bitfire, end-to-end solution for live broadcast and webcast productions of all sizes. They help make this show possible. So thanks to our friends at Bitfire. Hey, Darren, keep crushing it, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Love you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Got it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Talk
guys.
again.
Kickstand.
I know. I'm going to check it out. Oh, by the way,
I'm going to get one. I'm going to get a drink too. I'm just going to call it 0.08.
Hey, I love the Christian Yelich because I know you're ticked off at him, right? I mean, when did he sign that big contract for the Brewers? A couple of years ago?
Yeah, and he's had the worst I think he's 0 for 24 right now. He's on an oat. He cannot get it. He is so done. He's done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating as a fan when you see a player deteriorate and you know he's eating so much of that cap space on your team.
He's young.
Yeah, he's not that old.
He's done.
Hey, by the way, okay, so Darren, he's legendary on Twitter. He really is.
Yeah,
in the media world, he's as big as they get. Are you able to block out people's comments online, or do you engage? I know you do a little bit.
When you block someone, which I do because I get some ugly comments, when you block them, the tweet's gone from yours.
Sure.
And people can archive them and like you said, snapshot them.
Have you ever engaged with them in a friendly way and then they back off? Don't you find that as well? Like, it's so easy to do that anonymously, but then when there's they feel like they're having a real interaction with you.
I got to tell you, and this is once again not being cocky. If I retweet someone, or if I make a comment and someone's got so many more followers than me, they say something like, "Oh my God, my life's been met. Kato Kaelin retweeted me," or something, and I think it's hysterical.
Well, that's a wrap. Episode 13 of 1 Degree of Scandalous with Kato Kaelin and Tom Zenner. Hey, get caught up on all our episodes on YouTube. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media throughout the week as well. And we'll be back with another episode next Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.